Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it Serial Killers and the World. It's based on a couple of questions someone asked, and I just want to address this because even though we point to the truth of what we are, the non dual nature of beingness, I like to address questions like this just to see how they seem to be a distraction. But again, we always point back to the truth of what I am, which is what we are, what is. So, I'm going to begin with the first question. And the first one was, Nick, I'm writing to you because it seems we're living in a very dark time globally. On the one hand, the Epstein files have come to light, revealing his satanic practices and horrific acts like child sacrifice. There's the war in Iran and what some people called World War III, and large corporations are making us sick with medications and chemicals they add to food, etc. I know we need to practice forgiveness, but it's so difficult sometimes when you see so many dark things happening in the world. If you could address these topics in a video, I would be very grateful. By the way, people who are not familiar with the language of, let's say, A Course in Miracles, well, forgiveness would be the equivalent of not believing the content of the mind. But anyhow, let me share with you what I wrote first, and then we'll go to the second question. I'll share what I wrote, and then we'll elaborate in general. So for this particular one, I said, all of this has always been happening. It's just that perhaps it wasn't as visible because the internet did not exist. But ultimately, it is the same story repeating itself over and over, only in different forms. However, pay attention to your present experience. In this way, you can move through the world with a mindset that is not a part of it. You will do what your script calls you to do without any of these distractions affecting you. This is not a denial of what appears to be happening. It is simply recognizing that whatever is happening is part of the projection, and yet you rest in the present experience. And I repeat, you will do what your script calls you to do without being affected by all the judgments and interpretations that the mind constantly makes about the world of appearances. The second question was in one of the videos from Free Will, If You Have Free Will, on my channel, and the question says, so serial killers never choose to end people's lives brutally? And look what I said. I said, the issue here is not what serial killers do. It is about who you are. In other words, if you're dreaming and in your dream you hurt someone, although in the dream it appears as if you're a bad person, in reality nothing happened. Do not let the mind drag you to those questions because you will be overlooking who you truly are. This world is a projection that, as real as it may seem, makes no sense at all if you really look at it. And if we want to dig a bit deeper, if we are all one, that serial killer must be us also, as well as the victims. But again, there is no need to go there. Let's focus on not believing the content of the mind, and at least you will experience peace. Okay? Notice how the questions throw your attention or the imagination out there, if you want to use that word. But what I'm inviting, or the invitation here, is this. What is happening right now? Right now. What's happening right now? And right now, what's happening is this. Right? I'm not in denial that they seem as though there's things that may be going around. The bottom line is that all that there is this moment. Always, no matter what. And the mind can go, but how about the people who doesn't understand this, or people who are caught up in those situations? Once again, look how the mind is really throwing very logical arguments. But once again, let's talk to what is true for us right now. What's happening right now? Right now, all that is happening or seems to be happening is this, right? This is the essence where this is all pointing to, so we can find out or recognize or become conscious of the fact that I am. Okay? As resting in the I am, I'm experiencing that peace that we're talking about, the peace that surpasses all understanding. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be movement, doesn't mean there's not going to be thoughts, doesn't mean that there's not going to be sensations. All of it can be there, but I rest as I am. From this I am, just notice how life unfolds. And that's what I said in one of the questions. If in the script you're supposed to do something about it, you will find yourself doing something about it. You see? But the best gift that we can offer is the gift of the peace that is within, which is what you are. So these kinds of questions, although they seem to be very engaging, in the end, they're just thoughts. Because we can talk about the war in whatever the country may be. We can talk about the things that some people do, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong or right with that. I'm just simply saying that these are thoughts, aren't they? So, if you don't believe the thoughts, if you don't believe the content of the mind, what remains? You see? And this is what is being overlooked. If you're sleeping and you're dreaming, the dream can have all kinds of scenarios. But the fact is that the only thing that is true is you in bed, right? So, putting the attention on the dream is not going to solve anything. Even if the dream were to change, it doesn't matter. You're still overlooking the only thing that is true, which is you in bed. Well, here we're not denying in here, we're not suppressing anything, we're not trying to cover things up, we're pointing to what is true. What is true is this moment. And in this moment, notice what comes up, and it can be solved right here. Fear comes up. Okay, let's see what is the cause of that fear. Well, we all know the cause of the fear, of all fear, is the belief that I'm a separate entity. However, within the context in which I appear to be, if I really look, I realize fear happens because there's a thought that is arising, and I'm identifying with a thought, and I'm believing the thought, and the consequence of that thought is, in this case, would be fear. But what if I know that I am? Not me personally, but again, it's a limitation of language. Resting in the fact that I am. You see? And then thoughts appear and they disappear, and that seeming fear can also dissipate. But I'm at peace with what I am. And again, from that space, whatever action that I may feel inspired to take may be more conducive to benefit than an action that is motivated by fear. You see? And the way we deal with this is very simple. We go back again to this. It's not about how can I be not fearful. I don't deal with that. I just simply go back into this, because this is the absence of fear, also known as love. The mind is what overlooks the love that I am. You see, the peace that I am. The I am that I am. You follow? So we go back again to this. And if there's something that I need to know, I'm pretty sure that life will present the scenario in order for me to know that. This seeming me, it doesn't matter. Whether it could be a news, could be something that, I don't know. But if there's nothing, if I don't need to know any of that, if there's no necessity for me to do anything, because there's nothing I can do about it, then I'm just simply living life as it unfolds. And in one of the questions that I said, if you really look at this world, honestly, this world doesn't make any sense at all. So, what's the point? You know? There's no answer to the questions in here. People who seems to have all the power doing all kind of horrible things, and people who seem to do the right things, they always tend up being the victims, and this world doesn't make any sense. But this world is a projection from the mind. So, and the mind doesn't make any sense. The mind never made any sense. The only thing that makes sense would be love. And love has nothing to do with making sense or not. Love simply is, and you are. And love is the consequence. When there's no identification with the mind, you see? The mind is judgment. Love is acceptance. The mind is imprisonment. Love is freedom. You see? So we're resting in the fact that I am. And that I am is the love that we point to. I don't like to use the word love much because there's a tendency of thinking love is a feeling, something I feel for someone, and it all can be in there. But usually when we try to narrow it to a particular state or sensation or so, when the sensation is not there, what does it mean? That love is not there? You see, that's why I'm conscious with the words. So right now, I am. Whatever seems to be happening in the world of appearances and whatever people seems to be doing, this is just what they're supposed to be doing according to what might be unfolding. But right now, let's go back to the practicality of this. We're not denying, we're not suppressing, we're not covering up, we're just being true to what is true. And the only thing that is true is this moment. Right? What's happening right now? You see? This. Don't say what's happening right now is me listening to a video. No. Just don't go there. This is it. This is it. This is what's happening, or seems to be happening. Life, essence, presence, beingness. Beingness, without believing the content of the mind, is peace. Beingness, believing the content of the mind, is still the same peace underneath, but it's just being overlooked, overshadowed. But you cannot extinguish it, you cannot eliminate it, you may be able to cover it up. And this covered up comes with all these kinds of questions, and what this, or what if that, or what if, I don't know. I have no clue. All I know is that this is all that there is. And if there's something I need to do about anything that seems to be happening out there, well, life will inspire this me, if you want to say that word, to do something about it. But so far, as I rest in the fact that I am, the inspiration seems to be to make this video. You see? The inspiration through you seems to be to watch this information. Not because it comes from me or anything, it's just because it's what's happening. See, that's what's true. What's true within the context we appear to be. True is what's happening. You see? Not about all the details the mind come up with, but look at the world. How about this? How about that? Or how about people who kill? I don't know. All I know is this is all that there is. This is the I am that I am. Resting in this is the invitation in these videos always. And well, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.